Okay, time to finish off this application. So let's go through and add the final little bits to it so we can see what the finished product looks like in all its glory or lack thereof. Okay, so we've now got our menu, but we need to add some code to that. So when we press the standalone submenu button, it actually goes somewhere. So we need to do that in two places. Firstly, the Android manifest file. Oops, wrong file. We need to add another activity now for the standalone activity. And we'll just call it the standalone menu. We also need to go back to main activity and we need to add the intent for the second button. So what we need to do is we need to add our second button now. Button, I think I'll call it standalone. And we'll try button, for completeness, we'll standalone equals button, find view by ID, r.id dot button, it was button submenu, wasn't it? Okay. Let's just add an quick on-click listen to that as well, because we want to do the same thing, but we want to call the standalone class when that's clicked. So we're going to change that to the standalone, and this time the intent is going to be, so we're going to change the second one to standalone activity. And save that. Oops, add a bracket there. Save that, and let's just go and give that a bit of a run and see what it's doing. We'll run that on our Android virtual device. Okay, we've got two options now. We've got our first menu, and we'll try the standalone submenu. We've got an error, and the error was a null reference, so we probably named something incorrectly. So let's just double check our standalone XML. Button start and button playlist. We look in our standalone activity. Button play. So I've got the wrong ID there. So I've got button play, which of course is from another screen. It should be button start and button playlist. That's probably what caused it, I would say. Okay, so we'll try running this again and see what happens. Okay, we're going to try it again. Standalone submenu, play video. Crashed again, but I think this time it's a different reason. I think the reason is now because we're running it on an emulator and not running it on the real device itself. So I think what we'll do is I'll swap over to my real device and try running it now. And it's because we're using the standalone player this time. The standalone player is not installed on the Android virtual device. The previous section, or previous app that we created, that was using the API, and that did show a crash message. So that's probably the difference. And just one other thing I wanted to point out here is start activity for result in standalone. We should probably have made that just start activity without the 0. If we're not going to be calling another method to get the return results, it's best just to use the standard start activity. Alright, I'm going to run this on my Android device and we'll just check that it actually works okay. So for some reason I had trouble recording this. The software that I'm using to try and record data from the Android device seems a bit buggy, so I'm going to have to show you by holding and actually recording this on an iPhone, which is recording me using the Nexus. So what I'm going to do now is play it. So I click on play video. Try and keep this as still as I can, and we'll go into full screen mode. Play it. Just play a bit of the video to make sure it's a proof of concept that it's working. You can see it's buffering down here. Let's move it along a little bit. Okay, so that's working for a single play. So we'll click on back and we'll go, notice how the back works automatically. That's built into the functionality once we've created an intent. the Android app knows that back means to go back to the previous menu. So go to standalone submenu now, and we can click on play video. Same deal there. Now that's the inbuilt YouTube video player as opposed to the API that we used for the first one. But the net result is the same. It's actually just playing the video. And again, we can see if I move it forward, it's obviously working. So if we go back now, we'll try the playlist. And there's the first video in the playlist. And I'll just fast forward it a little bit. I've done with the other ones. It doesn't want to let me forward it, so it's better. Okay. Wait till it catches up, so that's working. Now I can click on this button here to the right of the play button, play pause button, and that should go to the next video. So this is the next video in the playlist sequence. Okay, so that's working, and I'll go to the next one, the third one. And the third one's got an ad, so an ad should pop up automatically, which it has. So you can see it's just like playing a normal YouTube video with all the bells and whistles. Just skip ad. That's another one of my videos, so that's working okay. So I can click on back, and again we can go back to a menu, back again, back to the main menu. So there we go, that's the app running, and running quite nicely on the Google Nexus 7. So we've finished app number 5. It's time to move on. I hope you've got a lot out of this, and we'll see you in the next section for app number 6.